All right, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to be talking about questions you should be asking every person that you meet. All right. And this is the truth. Most people will not give you the complete answer simply because it's to their benefit to lie. Let's just be honest. All right. It benefits them to lie to you about the answers. And people will always say things that they think you want to hear. All right. So, in order for these questions to work, one, they have to be a little bit uninhibited to say the truth. So that means when people are, look, again, I'm not saying to get people drunk. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that it helps if you guys are drinking because people are less inhibited, or if you guys smoking weed together or whatever. Because soberly, people will use their brains too much and they'll lie about certain things. And it also helps if you're not as sober, to be honest with you. But if you're sober, it helps. But if you guys are drinking together, then obviously you go also going to reveal some things. And these questions that I'm about to tell you are questions that you want to ask in the beginning, but also are questions that you want to get answers within the first month of knowing the person. And the reason why is because they communicate to you about the person's personality and what they want. But also understand that you should always be the one that seems more open minded and more chilled back and less judgmental. Because then people will feel more comfortable to reveal to you the things that they like. For example, when I talk to women, I try to come across as somebody who is open about sexuality, who is open about the different things, different kinks that people like, and I try to sound as least judgmental as possible. Why? Because I want to make sure if my girl that I'm seeing likes to get banged by two dudes at the same time. Like, I want to make sure of that, because if that's the case, then I don't want to do that. Okay. So it's kind of like, and even though I may not be that way, I come across open minded because it makes people feel more comfortable to open up. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you're trying to put your standards on the guy or girl without even knowing them first, they're going to lie to you. They'll feel what you judge people on, and then they'll tell you what you want to hear. So make sure, like, preemptively, that you communicate that you're a very open-minded person about things, and that you're not that judgmental. Because if you tell somebody, I hate people who are cheaters, as an example, and then you ask them if they cheated, of course he's gonna tell you the truth. But if you say, I understand why people cheat and that it's not always a bad thing, it's not a reflection of their character, there's a higher likelihood that they'll tell you the truth. All right, so let's understand that you want to preface the conversation with you communicating to the person that you're more open-minded. All right. So with that being said, let's talk about this. Why? The first thing is you want to ask them if they're single. Make sure, and also what if they like men or women. All right. It's important to know those things, right? Because if they like men, or if they're bisexual, it could, that's information you want to know. All right. And the other thing you want to ask is to tell you about their exes. Why? Because you want to see how they talk about their exes. Do they talk bad about their exes? Do they talk about their exes and also say how they were at fault about certain things, right? So it's not just the fact that they're talking about their ex, but also do they do they make them seem like the worst person in the world? Do they talk about how they had faults in why the relationship ended, right? Because if they talk bad about their exes really bad, then that's a reflection of their character. Most likely they'll talk bad about you. All right. The second one is talk about, eventually, not in the first day, but you want to ask them if they're in debt or not. Because one of the things that people get shocked when they marry somebody, you're also marrying their debts. So you want to notice their spending habits, because you don't want to be with somebody who's in debt and marry them. And a lot of people are in debt. You want to get the ones that have the least debt, and I promise you I guess that's a hard thing to assess, but it's something that a lot of people who get married talk about, that they didn't know this person has so many debts. Knowing what they consider weird about them is pretty much looking at their insecurities, seeing how they see themselves, and seeing the extremes of their personality. Because the truth is, what makes somebody themselves isn't what makes them normal. What makes them themselves, it's what makes them weird. It's the extremes, the dark side, and the really, really good sides, and the really weird sides. Because all of us have a very similar trait, have common traits, but what makes us different are their weirdness or the extremes. So you want to find that out. What makes them weird? For example, with me, what makes me weird is, I don't no, let's not even go there. The other thing is, let's talking about what's your dark side. Now, some people might not be honest with you. It's better to get them drunk. You know what I'm saying? It's better off to start confessing first. Confess something that's dark about you that may not be really true, but that could be considered a confession. You know what I'm saying? Something that's considered dark, but it's not socially unacceptable, because then then this person can respond to you with an equally with something that they consider dark. All right, so it's always good to go first. So something that you might want to do is play a question game, or even yeah, playing a question game actually is a good thing to do, because then you could get them to ask. You could ask these questions without sounding like you're in an interview, and it's always better with drinks. Other things that you should be asking men and women before you date them is talking about their childhood, asking them questions about their childhood, because simply asking them questions about their childhood, one, it regresses them. It makes them more emotional in a positive way. Two, you can find out what they lacked as children, and then you can work on finding out what are the things that they lacked as children, in order for you to give it to them through the attention that you give them. If their parents didn't give them attention, that means, unfortunately, if you withdraw attention from them and then give it to them, it actually satisfies a primal need that they have, and it'll if you do that to them, it'll have an emotional charge to it, right? So find out, how was their childhood, how were they raised, who was their parents' favorite, who was their least favorite, how did they feel about that, what did his or her parents encourage, and what did they disencourage. Do they have daddy issues? All of these things you want to find out, because it'll tell you how to behave with them, how to treat them. By the way, people, don't forget. Yeah. The next thing that you gotta ask them is, who in history do they hate the most? Who do they hate, and why? Because that'll show you their dark side as well. Like, honestly, like, ask them, who do they hate? Not who do they consider to be the most evil, but who do they hate? Because we usually hate who we envy. We usually hate who we have who their dark side is similar to ours, right? So ask them, what do they hate in people? What are the traits that they hate in people? Their hatred will be almost like a mirror image of what they really have. It's a sneaky one. What do they envy in people? That's another question. What do they envy in people? Do they envy money? Do they envy the partners? Do they envy relationships? Do they envy a lifestyle? Do they envy that people who travel a lot? So, for example, if I dated a girl who envied people who were travelers. Why? Because it said that she was raised in a restricted household, and because of that, she wants freedom. So she wants to date somebody who exemplifies that freedom. So it's kind of like, then you could become that person for them. But it's also an insight, right? Who do they envy will become an insight into their personality. Who are your role models in life, right? Who do they admire in life? Will tell you what they want for themselves as well. Pretty obvious. The people who you admire are pretty much reflection of your values and what you want to become, right? So if the person admires Hitler, then you got a problem, right? You see what I'm saying? And why do they admire them, right? They could admire Hitler for his evilness, or they could admire his oratory skills, right? Other things that you could ask is, how has your fashion changed? Now, well, that's actually a big one. How was your fashion when you were younger? And how has it changed as you gotten older? It'll be a reflection of their mindset, of how they see themselves, of their identity, right? And how much they have changed, or whether or not they didn't change at all. You could ask them how their relationship with their parents are, right? Again, that's a big one. It's a reflection of what they want in people. What do they do to relax? Ask them, because then it'll show you their coping mechanisms, right? What are their coping mechanisms? Do they smoke? Do they drink? Do they meditate? Whatever. But the point is don't just believe what they say. Observe how they actually cope, because the big thing is what they say versus what they actually do. What is the meaning of life to you, right? Ask them that. What do they consider to be the meaning of life? That tells you that if they tell you that their meaning of life is just enjoying relationships and connecting with their friends and family, it'll tell you that they're more relaxed and easygoing individual. On the other hand, if they say that the meaning of life is chasing your dreams and to make them come true, it'll tell you that they value being ambition and having a hustler's mindset and achieving their dreams no matter what. That could tell you what you want. That could tell you about their personality. Another thing that is, who do they admire in terms of career? Do they admire people who work hard? Do they admire find out what is their ideal job? What do they consider their ideal job? Is a reflection of their personality, and also what kind of job would they consider to be a complete nightmare? And that'll be a reflection of their personality, right? And all of those questions you can ask to somebody, it will give you a good insight into their personality, right? And knowing these things will show you their values, what they value in life. But above all, I want you to use your eyes to confirm what they say. Because a lot of times people will lie to you. It never hurts to ask these questions, but it does hurt to rely on their response and not rely on using their response to see and confirm it through their behavior, because that's the most important part, seeing it with your own eyes. All right. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is the question that every woman should ask a man while they're dating them, because it'll show you a reflection of their personality. Other things is asking them what are their favorite movies, what do they like to watch, what kind of horror movies, if they like horror movies, and who do they root for? Do they root for the good guy and do they root for the bad guy, right? All of these things tell you a person's personality, and I prefer these questions because they're an indirect way of asking, so that they don't get defensive, because people will always tailor their response based on what they think you're going to want to hear. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys ever want to learn how to use your feminine energy to influence people, learn how to use your masculine energy to become more assertive, and also learn how to blend both energies to improve your dating life, your spiritual life, honestly, your relationship life, your family life, your career life, this is the course for you. If I had to make a course for my nieces, I have two nieces, one is 19 and one is 15. 16. Holy shit. Oh my God, he's a bad fucking uncle. He's a bad uncle. Get him. Shut up, Melissa. You should get this course, right? And this is the course that I will make for them. So, for example, watch the curriculum, right? In the first week, we're going to be showing you how to establish a strong masculine foundation without letting it hurt your feminine energy. This masculine foundation is a source of who you are, right? It's your bodyguard. Without this, whatever feminine energy you create will be destroyed by the outside, because your masculine is your shield. So we'll talk about goal setting. We'll talk about how to develop a serious attitude. We're gonna be talking about how to use more logic, how to use more goal-oriented behavior. It's more how to be a man, Now the next one is how to embrace the feminine energy, right? This one will teach you about how to minimize excessive masculine traits, developing self-awareness, healing abundant feminine energy, regulating your emotion, mastering voice qualities and facial expressions, surrendering control, and allowing pain to be felt. This is honestly, this will supercharge, like Kaioken, your masculine energy. After that, we have femininity in the workplace, and how to be feminine in the workplace without letting people take advantage of you, and the nuances of how women on power should behave versus women who are subordinates in the workplace, and even the dress code. This is based on psychology, people. It's kind of insane. I'm actually excited about this one. The next week, we talk about navigating the labyrinth of male and female friendship, and this a lot of women find confusing, so we talk about that. And how to identify envious friends, how to identify the good friends, how to keep male friends, and how to keep female friends. Week 5, we talk about how to release the burden of the past and stop and destroy mental projections. This is actually really powerful. And then week 6, we talk about how to increase your observational power so that you could read people better. And we have a bunch of bonuses. The course starts at $99, and you guys can pre-order the course today at $69 before it goes out. If you're watching this, most likely I'm in the meditation retreat, so I will be praying for all of you guys. And just click on the description down below of the video. Right there, you'll see it, and you could pre-order that course. It's gonna be out by the end of next month or the beginning of February of March. One of the two, people, because I have a 10-day retreat to do, and I want to finish the course after the retreat, because I think the ideas are gonna be so much better. All right, man. I'll see you guys later. Pre-order, man. I'm closing the channel.